Before Sophia Wen killed herself, she called me 9 times. But I never answered. Since then, everyone said I was the one who killed my sister. Even the person who once helped me fight my depression was no exception. With a face full of disgust, he shoved me away, telling me coldly, "You don't deserve happiness." But the night my depression relapsed, the night I decided to atone with death, they regretted it. When I left the hospital, a fine rain was falling outside. The doctor was a kind-faced middle-aged woman. She looked at the results on her computer, tapped her fingers on the desk, and then turned to me with a gentle demeanor. "Olivia, given your current condition, I strongly suggest you stay in the hospital." I pursed my lips and said nothing. She didn't seem to mind and continued, "It's okay if you don't want to. I can prescribe some more antidepressants. Your core issue seems to be with your family. If possible, it's best to have a good talk with your mom." I instinctively pinched my hand. As I left, she watched me and offered an objective assessment. "You have a very good partner by your side. Love and companionship are the best medicine." But the doctor didn't know. That very good partner, it seemed he didn't love me anymore. Robert Jiang and I had been together for a year, engaged for 3 months. 2 years ago, I missed Sophia Wen's calls, which led to her suicide. Mom blamed me, calling me a murderer, throwing things at me, screaming and cursing me to die a horrible death. The year I was diagnosed with depression was the year I met Robert Jiang. A generic, jarring get-rich-quick or spam ad pop-up appears in the narrative flow. *C, Princess, look here. Pay attention. In the new year, a huge fortune is heading your way. Add 8 zeros to your balance. All your physical discomfort will vanish. Your whole family will be immune to all poisons. Dearest, but you have to answer. Just 3 roses to unlock. I inexplicably bro. Down sobbing outside a convenience store on the street. People passing by looked at me strangely. Only he stopped in front of me, holding an umbrella, and handed me a tissue. He smiled at me gently and softly. "Crying with such a pretty face? You don't look good doing that." Robert Jiang called several times. I didn't answer. The mechanical female voice repeating itself grated on my ears, annoying me. I simply hung up, got a taxi, and went home. The door was open when I arrived. I thought Robert Jiang was back and was about to call out his name, but the words caught in my throat. The house was a mess, everything knocked over onto the floor. I froze for a moment, about to call the police, when I met the eyes of the person coming down the stairs. It was Mom, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. She was holding a photo frame. She froze when she saw me, then immediately raised her hand and threw the frame hard at me. The frame landed at my feet, the glass shattering into pieces across the floor. She immediately lunged at me, grabbing my hair, her fists raining down on my body. Her words were chaotic, repeating phrases with similar meanings, slurred and unclear. "You still want to get married? Do you deserve it? You killed your sister. You should go to hell. You don't deserve anything. You don't deserve to be happy. Why wasn't it you who died?" I didn't dare fight back. I could only cover my head, listening to the venomous words stab into my heart. The negative emotions threatened to overwhelm me. I could only cover my ears, muttering to myself, "I can't die." I promised him I wouldn't. I don't know how long she attacked me. It wasn't until the neighbors next door heard the commotion and pulled us apart. A woman knelt down and asked if I was okay. That's when I snapped out of my daze. Trembling, I fumbled through my bag for my medication, but I couldn't find it. A pair of feet stopped in front of me. Small white pills scattered onto the floor, like pear. LS. I froze, then looked up. Robert Jiang stood there, looking down at me with a cold, malicious smile, an empty pill bottle in his hand. He looked at me, his smile cold and cruel. Yes, actually, when I got engaged to Robert Jiang, my condition was already close to stabilizing. At my worst, I would lock myself in my room, not eat or drink for a whole day, and dig my nails into my flesh. Robert Jiang felt sorry for me. He took time off work and took me traveling, from the warm resort town in Florida to the wilderness of Alaska. He proposed to me in a scenic botanical garden, kneeling on one knee to put the ring on my finger, his profile exceptionally devout. Liv, I'll stay with you forever. I once saw Robert Jiang as my lifeline. When I was teetering on the edge of the abyss, he was the only salvation I could grasp onto. When the urge to be strong and the will to survive were tearing me apart, he broke that balance. He appeared in the darkest moment of my life, like a deity guiding me through my suffering. I still ate the pills off the floor. Robert Jiang let go, the bottle clattering as it hit the ground and rolled away. I scrambled towards it, picking up the scattered pills from the floor, one by one, putting them back into the bottle. The neighbors had already quietly left, leaving us with a polite pretense of privacy. He just watched me coldly. I never knew you were this disgusting. Olivia, when you killed your sister. You deserve this. You deserve the pain. I didn't look up, numbly continuing to pick up the pills from the floor. I could guess when Robert Jiang found out. I had never told him about my trauma with my family. But after we got engaged, he would occasionally hint that I should take him back to meet my parents. My relationship with Mom wasn't good, the distance from childhood still present. Not to mention, she already hated me fiercely. Later, Robert Jiang stopped mentioning it. A week ago, he disappeared for a day. When he came back, his attitude towards me had changed. And he brought his assistant home. The two of them were intertwined on the sofa. I'm a light sleeper and was woken by the noise downstairs. I thought he was working late and was about to ask if he was hungry, but the scene before me froze me in place. Robert Jiang's assistant, Sarah Miller, was very pretty. Her long hair was spread across Robert Jiang's chest. She was leaning down, trying to kiss him. Robert Jiang didn't dodge, letting her. She left a distinct lip print on his face, and he pulled her into his arms. Sarah gasped, cooing like a cat, "Not like this, Mr. Jiang, your girlfriend is still here." But her tone was laced with unconcealed triumph. The living room reeked of alcohol, so strongly that I tried to use it to convince myself that Robert Jiang had seen me. His gaze fell on my face, dismissive and contemptuous, like a poisoned blade. "Don't mind him. He doesn't deserve it." If it wasn't for that face. I didn't hear the rest of what he said. The physical symptoms came quickly, nausea, burning sensation rising from my stomach. I stumbled into the bathroom, gagging, clutching my throat. As tears streamed down, I remembered the day I first met Robert Jiang, the words he said, "Don't cry. You won't be pretty if you cry." When I had nothing left to vomit, Robert Jiang appeared at the doorway. His voice was devoid of warmth. "You can't handle this? But aren't you the most disgusting one?" I don't know when Robert Jiang left. By the time all the pills were back in the bottle, I was the only one left in the room. I sat in the wreckage, staring blankly at the photo frame that had landed not far away. I picked it up. The sharp fragments cut my hand, and bright red blood dripped onto my face in the photo. The photo was of Robert Jiang and me, taken by someone on a street in the historic district. He had bought a pretzel, squinting his eyes, smiling as he walked towards me. I was facing away from him, looking at the window displays. The crowded people became the background, only the young man buying a snack for the person he loved and his lover looking at the window displays were the protagonists. The girl who took the photo gave it to me and wished us long and lasting. At that time, Robert Jiang was holding my hand, fingers intertwined. He whispered in my ear, "Get better soon, Liv. We're going to be long and lasting." I really wanted to get better quickly, so I actively sought treatment and took my medication. Before, I was just holding on by myself, cutting myself again and again in despair, using physical pain to alleviate the pressure in my heart. As long as I didn't die, as long as I didn't break my promise to him. Then Robert Jiang appeared. I started seeing a doctor. When I was just one step away from escaping the abyss, the hand reaching out to pull me up instead pushed me back down. I fell back into the darkness. Robert Jiang started coming home less often. Mom's texts bombed my phone daily, calling me a beast, a slut, demanding to know why it wasn't me who died. I didn't dare look at them too long. My unstable emotions were like a bomb. If it exploded, I might really lose control. I hired someone to clean the house. The tunnel part of the building blocks couldn't be put together. The helper asked if I wanted to throw it away. I stared at the piece in her hand, dazed for a moment, then shook my head. After the helper left, I also went out to meet a friend. David Chin was working out of state and was here on a business trip. He had asked me to grab dinner. We met at a restaurant. Piano music flowed constantly. David hugged me as soon as he saw me. When he let go, he looked me over. "You've lost weight. I thought your Mr. Jiang would keep you well-fed and plump." I didn't say anything. He sensed my mood quickly. "He's not treating you well?" I changed the subject. "We rarely get to meet up. Let's not talk about him. The food is here." David ate and told me abo. His life, complaining about his colleagues. He made me laugh, my eyes crinkling into smiles. I picked up a piece of beef with my fork, but before I could put it in my mouth, my smile froze. This restaurant was very suitable for couples. The atmosphere was nice. It shouldn't have been Robert Jiang and his assistant. The man gentlemanly pulled out a chair. The pretty woman thanked him with a smile. The roses on the table were vibrant, and the diamond ring on her hand reflected the light of the crystal lamp, making my eyes ache. Maybe I had been staring for too long. Robert Jiang seemed to notice. The moment our eyes met, he gave me a cold, smileless grin. The next second, I saw him reach out and brush Sarah Miller's hair away from her face, the gesture intimate and suggestive. When David Chin followed my gaze, he saw the same thing. He instantly became furious, grabbing the wine glass on the table and standing up. "Don't go." I grabbed his arm, almost pleading. "Don't go." He looked at my tear-filled eyes for several seconds. Finally, he sat back down. I fumbled in my bag for the pill bottle, my hands shaking as I tried to unscrew the cap. My stomach ached in waves. Only after taking the pill did I start to recover from the overwhelming sense of suffocation. But I couldn't eat dinner anymore. As I grabbed my bag and left with David Chin, we passed Robert Jiang and Sarah Miller's table. David Chin couldn't hold back. His bag bumped the wine glass. The glass fell and shattered. Red liquid spread across the table and dripped down. Sarah Miller frowned instantly, about to argue with David Chin. David Chin replied haughtily, "Oops, sorry." Sarah Miller was about to erupt but softened her expression into a smile when she saw me beside him. "This couple's meal is really good, isn't it? Do you like it?" Robert Jiang laughed. "I'll bring you here often in the future." I didn't look at them. I just stared, my face pale, at the dark liquid spreading on the table, drip. Dripping onto the floor. David Chin sensed something was wrong. He immediately blocked my view, pulled me away, and we left quickly. I sat in the passenger seat, instinctively reaching for the pill bottle. But my hand wasn't steady, and the bottle dropped to the floor. I didn't pick it up. My nails dug into my flesh, forcing myself to stay conscious on the verge of drowning despair and collapse. "Liv? Liv!" David Chin raised his voice, calling my name. I snapped back to reality. "Why don't you break up with him? It's just an engagement." I didn't say anything. "I know he was there for you before, and you started getting better then. I'm grateful for that. But he's cheating on you, Liv." The shifting light from outside fell on David Chen's face. His tone was firm. "Break up with him." Silence fell in the car. After a long time, I heard myself speak. "I can't." The car braked sharply at the side of the road. The seatbelt dug into my chest. David Chin punched the steering wheel. He turned to speak, but then fell silent the moment he clearly saw my face. After a long pause, I heard him ask, "What is it that's trapping you?" I didn't speak. He just watched me, fiercely, as if demanding an answer. What was trapping me? I closed my eyes. That pool of red liquid was still flowing, dripping, seemingly without end. What was trapping me were the similar phrases, the hand that once tried to pull me out of the abyss. What was trapping me was the guilt I bore 2 years ago. I didn't have Sophia Wen anymore. I didn't have a home anymore. I opened my eyes. Even though they hurt terribly, not a single tear fell. I looked red-eyed, like a wounded cub, pathetic and ridiculous. Dave, I murmured, repeating again, I don't have a home anymore. David Chin hugged me as he left. He didn't say anything else, just told me to remember to see the doctor on time. I nodded. The moment the door closed, the emotions I had been hiding burst forth, stronger than ever before. The home the helper had meticulously cleaned was once again in disarray. I was like a madwoman, smashing things that were perfectly fine onto the floor. The sound of glass breaking was crisp, but it wasn't enough. Perhaps I had been suppressed for too long. The impulse was stronger than any time before. A devil screamed in my ear, telling me to press the fruit knife against my wrist, but I stopped just short. The door suddenly opened. Robert Jong's hand froze in midair as his eyes met mine. Countless times before, as soon as I picked up a knife, he would panic, not letting me touch anything remotely sharp. But this time, he just stood there, his expression as cold as an observer. The ticking of the second hand on the wall was clearly audible. Do it, he looked at me, repeating with a cold laugh, cut it. I didn't move, staring at him blankly like a puppet. He scoffed, his eyes venomous. You wouldn't dare. You just want to gain sympathy. Why wasn't it you who died? His tone was innocent yet cruel, as if it were just a simple question. I used all my strength to control my trembling. Olivia, when you don't dare to die. He said the words syllable by syllable. He was right, I didn't dare. Pulled between the medication and my promise, I couldn't die. But I couldn't live either. The knife clattered loudly onto the floor, landing just beside my foot. Despair, like a vine, wrapped tightly around my body, finally making me burst into tears. When I cried before, Robert Jiang would always hold me close. The usually indifferent man would soften his voice, comforting me gently, softly. Just like that person. Always using a handkerchief with a gentle floral scent to gently wipe away my tears, then holding me close, softly comforting me. Little moon, don't cry. You won't be pretty if you cry. Such a cliché phrase, but I had heard it for over 10 years and never grew tired of it. In this world, no one would comfort me like that anymore. I sank deeper into the mire. Sometimes I forgot to take my medication, sometimes I swallowed handfuls of pills at once. I started cutting my arm with a knife again. A year ago, the pale scars that were almost healed were joined by new ones, but none were fatal. Later, the pill bottle was empty. I don't know how I survived. I drifted through the days until Sophia Wen's death anniversary. It was a clear day. I woke up early, tidied myself up, and went to the flower shop to buy a bouquet. But when I got there, someone was already ahead of me. Mom was standing there. The grave was covered with offerings and mementos. I walked over expressionlessly, put down the flowers, and turned to leave. The moment I did, something heavy hit my head. I stumbled, almost falling to the ground. The bouquet I had wrapped scattered, the flowers falling to the ground one by one. Her voice was filled with bitter hatred, screaming hysterically at me. What are you doing here? Aren't you the murderer? How dare you come to see her? But as she cursed, she started crying again. You're the one who should have died. I didn't look back. My head felt dizzy, as if I was standing on the edge of a cliff. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to calm down. Leave this place. When I got in the car, I saw the doctor's text message. She asked why I hadn't come. I stared at her profile picture for a long time, then typed with difficulty, sorry, I was delayed by something. She replied quickly, I'll reschedule. When can you come? Forget it. The cursor in the input box blinked. I finally didn't send it. I'll make another appointment with you next time. Robert Jiang came home earlier than usual. It wasn't Sarah Miller who brought him back, but another male subordinate. When they arrived, I was squinting into the empty pill bottle. It had been empty for a long time. The male subordinate helped Robert Jiang to the sofa and politely said goodbye to me. Robert Jiang was unusually drunk. The heavy smell of alcohol filled the room. His face was flushed, his expression somewhat dazed. Only the two of us were left in the room. The living room light was bright, falling on Robert Jong's face. He was half closing his eyes, his face turned towards me. I put the pill bottle down, my gaze fixed on his face. The next second, he struggled up from the sofa, looked up at me. He didn't come over, just squinted slightly, staring at me with a foolish smile. The rims of his eyes were red. "You're back, sophomore. I haven't thought of you in so long. I met someone who looks so much like you. I'm going to marry him. But his mother said he was the one who killed you." I stared at him blankly, as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. He said something else, but I didn't hear a word of it. The Soph he spoke of. I knew her. The one who jumped from a tall building 2 years ago, my dead sister, Sophia Wen. No wonder. No wonder Robert Jiang was so surprisingly pleased when he first saw me. No wonder he was so good to me when we first met. No wonder he said, if it wasn't for that face. It turned out it was my face, the one that resembled my sister's. What I thought was my salvation was just another abyss. I stumbled into the study, trembling as I rummaged through the books piled in the corner. I knocked them onto the floor one by one, creating a mess. I finally found what I was looking for, my high school graduation photo. A young-faced Robert Jiang, and my sister, 18 years old, wearing a beautiful uniform piece, like a flower. My muddled brain felt like it had finally found a flicker of clarity. But the next second, the person from downstairs stumbled in, trying to grab the photo from my hand. He was clearly still drunk, but he had sobered up a little. Why wasn't it you who died? The protective wall I had painstakingly built finally completely collapsed. The bomb in my mind exploded, making me lose the last shred of rationality. I used all my strength to push him away. "I'll give it back to him. I'll give it back. A life for a life. Is that enough?" Robert Jiang hit the wall, looking like he still wanted to smile, but I didn't look at him. I rushed into the kitchen for a fruit knife. He seemed to finally panic, stumbling after me, trying to grab me. But he was drunk. He couldn't catch me, could only watch my back disappear from the house. He called out the nickname he used to call me from behind. "Liv! Liv!" But I didn't look back. The car sped down the road. The face in that photo was imprinted on my mind. I had almost forgotten how vibrant, how beautiful he used to be. But in the end, all I could remember was how empty his eyes were that day, how covered in blood he was. So much blood. I wanted to help him wipe it away, but I couldn't. How could a person bleed so much? So much that my white shirt was stained bright red, and I still couldn't clean it all. Mom rushed over and hit me. She grabbed my hair, pulling hard at my scalp, her fists hitting my body again and again. "Why didn't you answer his call? He called 9 times. 9 times, and you didn't answer a single one. He wouldn't have had to die. He could have lived. It's all you. Why didn't you answer the phone?" Swords and fury like stones struck my chest. Her words like blades, stabbing my heart again and again, making it bleed. It was all my fault. It was all my fault. I was the one who killed my sister with my own hands. Under the influence of medication, I actually couldn't remember many things, especially because I deliberately avoided recalling them. But today, the memories I had deliberately forgotten surged back. The overwhelming waves clogged my chest, like a fruit pit stuck in my throat, unable to go down or come back up. The pace of memory was faster than anything in this world, making me collapse halfway. I had forgotten too many things, that's why it felt so heavy it suffocated me. I forgot that when I was 6, I was playing downstairs and came back till late. Mom locked me in a dark room and wouldn't let me out. I was so scared I didn't dare close my eyes. It was Sophia Wen who held me, singing me beautiful songs over and over. I forgot that when I was 9, Mom hit me, and I hid in a corner crying. It was Sophia Wen who wiped away my tears, laughing and teasing me, "Little Moon, you won't be pretty if you cry." I forced a smile, my tears tasting salty. She laughed too. "Little Moon, you're prettiest when you smile." I forgot that when I was 12, I ran away from home. The road was blocked by heavy snow. I fainted in the wind and snow. It was Sophia who searched for me non-stop in the cold, finding me frozen and unconscious in the snow. When I woke up, she was slumped beside my bed, her eyes red. I hugged her and said I would never run away again. I forgot that when I was 15, because my grades dropped a little, the teacher called my parents in for a meeting with the teacher/counselor. My mom slapped me outside the school, calling me a beast. That year, I first thought about dying. I cut my wrist with a fruit knife and Sophia found me. Her hands trembled as she wrapped my wrist with gauze. He said, "Little Moon, what will Sophia do if you're gone? You don't want Sophia anymore?" That's when I regretted it. I couldn't leave Sophia alone. That's when I promised him I would never kill myself again. I forgot that when I was 17, when filling out college applications, Mom used the same trick. She changed my top out-of-state university application to a local college. She had done the same when Sophia was filling out college applications. But this time, Sophia firmly disagreed. He stood with me and fought against Mom. He stroked my head and told me firmly, "Little Moon, you must go to a better university." But this good Sophia didn't want her little Moon anymore. If I hadn't been busy that day, if I hadn't put my phone on silent that day, if I had answered his call that day, he would have lived. Outside the car window, the night was a deep, endless black. I covered my mouth and sobbed. Pain crawled all over my body. The belated grief slowly bent my back. In the vast, endless night, my soul was repeatedly crushed. The living held on to the promise made to the dead, refusing to let go. But Sophia, this world is too hard. Your little Moon really can't bear it anymore. Can I come find you? The car stopped at the cemetery entrance. I held the knife and stepped onto the stone path leading uphill without looking back. The photo on the headstone was black and white. Before, I had always come in a hurry, not daring to look at him too long. But this time was different. The fruit knife in my hand reflected the cold moonlight from the sky. I barely hesitated. The skin on my wrist was delicate. With one slide, blood rushed out, flowing slowly down my arm. I watched the bright red liquid drip, calmly waiting for death. A slight sound came from behind me. I instinctively turned my head and unexpectedly met the eyes of a man holding a bouquet. His gaze fell on my face, his expression startled for a moment. The next moment, when he saw my wrist, his face changed instantly. Almost immediately, he dropped the flowers, pulled out a handkerchief, and covered my wound. Blood soaked through the white handkerchief. He grabbed my other hand and started walking. I was pulled along, but my gaze remained fixed on his other hand, the one that had just pressed the handkerchief to my wound. The ring he wore on that hand. I had seen the other one of the pair. He had once worn it on a necklace, around my sister's neck. This man was Sophia's former boyfriend, Ethan Lee. He drove very fast, as if he was trying to die. We quickly arrived at the hospital. The doctor treated the wound. The hospital was still busy at night, people coming and going. I sat on a hospital chair, my hands on my lap, obediently waiting for Ethan Lee to finish paying the bill. My phone was still ringing on the chair. The contact screen kept showing Rob. Calls came one after another, as if tireless, without any pause. "Aren't you going to answer?" Ethan Lee asked me. I shook my head, just staring at the ring on his hand. His gaze fell on my arm, as if stung, and he pulled it back. Then his hand raised, but froze in the air, as if he wanted to pat my head and comfort me, but felt it wasn't appropriate. After a long while, he sighed. "Olivia, Sophia left some things with me. I hope you'll take a look." I agreed. When Ethan Lee came down from upstairs with the metal box, my mom called me too, but I didn't answer. He handed me the box, even thoughtfully opening it a little for me. "These were Soph's treasures," the man said, his lips soft as he recalled Sophia. I used to ask him to show me what was inside, but he wouldn't, saying they were his most precious treasures. I never dared open the room he lived in before. I only went in recently and saw he had left this box here. He looked at me, his eyes slightly red. "But I think you're the one who should see them most." Under the dim yellow light of the car roof, I slowly opened the box. There were many things inside, varied and some very old. When I was 6, I made him drawings, drawing him wearing a fancy dress and a princess's crown. When I was 8, I bought beaded hair accessories at the school store/small shop, gaudy and cheap. I said, "One for each of us," and pinned them in his hair, like a joke. When I was 10, making bracelets was popular at school. I bought colorful threads for a few cents a bunch. He wove one and specifically bought a small plastic heart charm and a painted small bell to hang on it. It would jingle when you shook it. When I was 12, our school trip went to a museum/historic site, and I was tricked by a small vendor, buying a stone charm. It was strung on a string, said to ward off evil and ensure safety. I brought it back and gave it to him like a treasure. 13 years old, 14, 15, all the way until I became an adult. Scattered, worthless little trinkets were treasured and carefully collected by him. What treasures? I covered my eyes tightly with my sleeve. These were clearly garbage that no one else would even take if they were free. Sophia 1. Ethan Lee drove me to a hotel. When he left, he gave me his number. There's also a very thick diary in Sophia 1's box. He hesitated, then said, "Give me a call when you're ready to leave." I nodded. My phone was still ringing. I tossed it aside casually and started flipping through the diary. It was very thick, so thick it took me 4 days to read in the hotel. And yet very thin, so thin that this one book contained my sister's short life. Sophia 1 and I grew up in a single-parent family. Mom's control was too strong. Our childhood was never a fond memory, but endless scolding, punishment, and verbal abuse. In that painful and inescapable time, Sophia 1 and I were each other's only salvation. So he wrote so much about his little moon. Even when I went to university, he thought about me in his diary, wondering if his little moon was happy, if she was dressing warmly in the cold, if she was eating well, if she was taking care of herself. Later, he met Ethan Lee. They got together. But Mom disagreed, forcing them to break up and arranging blind dates for Sophia 1 with men she favored. Sophia 1 refused, only able to hide it from Mom on the surface. The diary stopped 7 days before Sophia 1 jumped. Mom found out Sophia 1 and Ethan Lee were living together. He came over and made a scene in front of everyone, yelling that Sophia 1 was a harlot for living with a man secretly, yelling that Sophia 1 was a disobedient daughter, forcing Sophia 1 to break up with Ethan Lee and taking Sophia 1 back home. The last 2 lines on that page were blurred by tears. Sophia 1 said, "I can't take it anymore. I'm sorry, I hadn't thought about him in a long time. I am me, because I didn't dare to remember." The series of chain reactions that brought were consequences I couldn't bear. Only on the day a year ago when I had a high fever, I felt hazy, as if I had gone back to when he was still alive, resting my head on his lap, listening to him sing. But when I woke up, I had to force myself to forget again. But I really missed him. I dreamt for 4 days, dreaming of my childhood with him. On the 4th day, I woke up with my face covered in tears. I leaned against the headboard, looking at the blinding sunlight outside the window. I only remembered him in the dream, squinting and smiling, stroking my head and saying, "Be happy, little moon. You're prettiest when you smile." I buried myself in the pillow again. Thank goodness, longing is silent. There were many missed calls on my phone. I only answered David Chen's call and told him I was safe. He said Robert Jiang was looking for me, almost going crazy. If I didn't show up, he would call the police. I acknowledged it and said I knew. After hanging up, I called Ethan Lee. I said I was going home. He came quickly. "Are you okay?" I nodded. The scenery outside the window kept passing by. Soft instrumental music played in the car. Neither of us spoke. As we got closer, Ethan Lee broke the silence. "Did he call you that day, and you didn't answer?" The car stopped downstairs. He met my eyes in the rearview mirror. "That day, Soph also called me. And I couldn't save him either." "Olivia 1, he called my name, his gaze serious. "He called you just to say goodbye. So you don't have to blame yourself. Your sister wanted you to be happy more than anything." Yes, I should have known. I covered my face. He loved me so much, how could he blame me? It was I who couldn't move on. It was I who refused to forgive myself. When I opened the door, Robert Jiang was sitting on the sofa. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. His expression vanished completely, as if he had found a lost treasure. Liv, it's you! He rushed towards me like a madman, but the next second,